I now own 8 plates, 6 cups.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
So you're not having any large dinner parties?
I'm coming to your house for dinner.
That sounds.
You know what?
That's the smartest thing I've heard. I'm sorry, we can't have anyone over. We only have 8 plates.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast today. Hello, Liz.
Hi, Lee.
And you all, if you're watching, please do on YouTube. We have a very special guest today sitting in between us, the beautiful Anne Steppe. Anne is the owner and creator, right, of Steppe Professional Organizing. And what better time to come into the studio and talk to us. You know, we're in February real time and kind of the start of the year. We'll run into spring cleaning eventually. But we want a guru, you, to talk to us all about organization, your services, and such. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel very lucky to be in the middle of you two. This is a special seat. I'm
Well,
glad to be here.
she doesn't understand that right after this, we're going to do a full class, and she's just excited about it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So, Anne, tell us when you started your business and why.
Okay. 6 years ago last month, I started my business just in time to be, in the COVID era.
Right.
So that was good timing.
That was actually great timing, wasn't it?
It ended up working out well. We came up with a system where we could use photos and thumbs up and thumbs down and emojis to work in someone's home, and they were upstairs and we might be downstairs or vice versa. So, but I started my business because I'd been with another company and it was just time. Sometimes as scary as it is to go out on your own.
Was it an organizational business?
Yes.
So this is in your blood.
It is.
Okay.
When I introduce myself, my elevator speech is, I'm the daughter of a Marine, and a buttoned-up Brit, sister to a colonel in the Army, and I married a police officer who's now a retired sergeant in CMPD. So
it's a lot of.
I clearly like rules and regulations and like straight lines and do this, not that. And so I grew up in a very tidy, organized, buttoned-up home. And so I was a messy teen. My mom will tell you. I don't remember that, but she says I was. And so I think it was just in my blood to be organized and as put together as one can be on my best day.
Sure.
I'm still, conductor of a Hot Mess Express on others, but most days I have my act together, I feel.
But it's sort of a natural thing for you then, right? And it's fun.
Yes. My mom tells a story of back in the day, we were over at Park Road Shopping Center. I was a little tyke. And I walked off and I said, Mother, I'm going to find a friend. And she said, okay, typical. And she found me in the hosiery department with the lady organizing the hose.
Oh, wow. I can see that. Okay.
In the blood, that's why I was curious if this was a rebellious act against an untidy home that you were like, I can't handle it, or you did grow up indeed this way, and that is just who you are.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Steppe Organizing, very cute. We said as your name is Steppe, S-T-E-P-P-E, by Steppe.
In Charlotte, right here.
Correct.
Right. Yep. Do you do any virtual?
I don't like virtual because I'm such a people person. I can, but if I prefer in person. But I can do virtual sessions. Did a lot of that during COVID. But I'm just such a people person. I want to see you, feel your energy, see the home. I want to touch the stuff and be in the thick of it with you. So I do prefer and kind of shine in the lane of in-person organizing.
Okay.
I'm just imagining you walking into my house. I'm just like, what is that going to be like?
Room
I can imagine I'd call you, and then I would go into a crazy uproar about cleaning up my house.
Well,
I would just like.
We've seen it. I have seen it all, and there's no judgment in what we do. We shouldn't be in this industry if you have a judgmental bone in your body. And I always tell people, don't clean anything up before we come, because I need to see your traffic patterns. I need to see your habits. I need to see how you naturally flow through your home, because for me, I consider myself an instinctive organizer. And so I want to see where you lay things down. And I want to see, if you have kids, where the trail of shoes and bags and doodads leads
that's a good point.
It's very helpful to see an animal in their natural habitat, if you will. And so I would come into your home just like I would any other home and just see what we've got going on and build a system around how you kind of already operate.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like what you said about a system about how you operate. So is it fair to say what you're doing is a lot more about systems than buckets and actual organizational items?
It's all the above.
Okay.
So I am not a life coach or, into the habit change aspect of what can be involved with what we do.
Sure.
Because I say we come, we conquer, and then we leave. And so I have to get a feel and a vibe of how you live, because that is the creature behind what's happening in the home. And so if I was partnering with, if you had a life coach, I would work in tandem with you and that life coach to work on these changing habits and such. More often than not, organizers, we're coming in because you're saying, oh my gosh, my office is a mess.
Right.
Or my kids are driving me
God,
crazy
my
with the
office is a
playroom.
mess.
How'd I know?
I really need you.
Your mind reader as well.
God,
And
my
so,
head.
yeah, I have to see the space and the people, and I'm taking in a lot of what's in the home as
Right.
well. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and new systems can't just happen. They have to be built around how you live.
Right.
And some organizers might come in and try to revamp your whole life and put this here and you're going to put that there. And that's fine if that's how they want to do it. I don't do that. I want to put the trash can where trash is ending up on the floor anyway. Or for teams, a lot of times, if the laundry's ending up right here, let's put it here.
Right.
Let's increase that rate of frequency that something's going to get put back to where it is. But we do use, since you mentioned products, we do use a lot of products in what we do, because I am a big believer, once you do the edit, you get out the excess, that products do help create those lines on the highway.
What kind of products are you talking about?
Organizational products, baskets, bins, drawer organizers, things like that,
Right.
shelf dividers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you provide those and that's part of your fee, or do you say you need to go out and buy this?
It's really driven by the client, their budget and what have you. Typically, I drive a Sprinter van, so most people think, yeah, Amazon's back. And I'm like, no. We would like to cull that habit. But I come with supplies in my van.
So you do different price points, say. So you say, okay, I'm going to do your bedroom or your closet, but I also might do your office, your home office, and there's going to be different price points.
We are by the hour. We're
Okay.
75 across the board per
Okay.
organizer per hour. And so I would bill you
Got
for
it.
services, and we would bill separate for supplies.
For
And
supplies.
it can be Target, Walmart, Amazon,
Right.
the Container Store.
Love.
Very convenient, has the best offerings. However, some of their things are higher price pointed than others. Dollar store, just depends.
So you're going to help me get my clothes that I haven't worn in
Yes.
15 years out of my closet, but that they're iconic
Right.
and that I've held on to, because now and then I go to a costume party and I know that I have a sequin dress.
I've seen you looking good in some of those costumes and outfits online, Liz.
And that's one thing my daughter says to me. She goes, never get rid of these certain things.
Sure.
But they're just everywhere.
Yeah, so
You know?
if that's the case, if you say, Ann, I've got this closet, this is my everyday, or my more casual everyday, because I know everyday for y'all is athletic wear, for obvious reasons. But I would want to pull your non-everyday items and maybe put them in a secondary space, because I don't like everyday space to be taken up by once a year or
Right.
if there's an event. Same thing throughout your home. I don't like everyday space given up to, because real estate's so important in where things are in your home.
Yeah.
I don't want space given up to a Christmas plate
Right.
taking up space that should be your everyday plate. So we bump that up or bump it out to another spot.
Yeah.
Same thing with clothes.
So I have this house. Okay, it's all about me right now. I'm sitting here going,
We
okay.
are slowly cleaning your home.
We're going to talk after, so I'm not going to dominate this conversation. But I mean, I've got those separate spaces, and they're
Sure.
still just insane. So we'll talk later.
Okay.
Anyway,
But I think that's what we're getting at is
yeah.
the importance of an edit. And let's go back
Yeah.
a little bit. So, if we look at the sign behind us, be powerful, how does this translate to us in our everyday life, right? It's the clutter versus the calm. Like the environment in which you live is really going to impact
Yes.
the rest of your day and how you feel. So is that your goal? Is it decluttering? Is it systems? I mean, what are we?
It's pretty much all the above for me. So my biggest drive is I love people. And I want people to live their biggest, best life or smallest and quietest life.
Right.
Whichever, wherever you are, let's do it. And so what I see in 15 years of having done this is that people put a lot of pressure on themselves. They beat themselves up a lot, particularly women, and they think things have to look or be a certain way. Well, what works for you doesn't work for you. What works for me doesn't work for others. And so the driving force behind how I want someone's space to be really is how I want them to be able to live their life. Like when I leave a particularly imposing home, meaning high volume, a lot of chaos, lots just hammering this family or the family members in it, whoever that might be. A lot of times I'll leave and I'm like, gosh, we're not meant to live this way.
Yeah.
Because I see the internal clutter is reflected in the external.
Right.
And so people are like, gosh, I don't know why we're arguing so much. I'm thinking, well,
It's
the
a
space
mess.
is a little chaotic.
So you can see a difference, honestly,
Yes.
when you clean up the space.
Yeah.
People literally clean up the space in their
Yes.
head
Yes.
and behave differently. I mean, I know that about myself.
Right.
I mean, some of my own therapy, I remember from years ago, was to come home from whatever it was. Usually it was modeling back in the day when I would travel.
Yeah.
I would take my house and clean it from top to bottom,
Yeah.
and my whole attitude would just be
Yes.
cleaned.
Yeah,
I
there's
felt
an
great.
energy component.
Yeah,
to
there is a
that.
big energy.
There's a personal respect component to
Right.
it as well. The space you live in and how you maintain that and what you see and how that reflects is very important. And that does not mean you have to keep your house perfectly neat as a pin so others won't judge you. That's
Right.
not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you walk into your space, you should feel good about it. You should want to be in your home. You should want to come and go from that and not that everything's going to be seamless. That's not real. But things can have some order to it and should for your sake, not because I
Right.
think you should,
Right.
but because your life I can promise you that your life will function more efficiently
Right.
when things are in good order.
And you've got power over your
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Your attitude, your
Yes.
your environment. And that's big.
Absolutely.
It is big, and it's just like
Yeah.
the workout, for example. We always link it back. When you come in and you take that time for yourself to
Yes.
declutter
Yes.
your brain and get a little stronger for when you walk out the door, it's the
Yes.
same concept. And one big thing that I think is important is this whole overconsumption
Yes.
culture in which we live,
Yes.
where we're constantly having an Amazon box at the door.
Yeah.
So do you have an opinion about that? Do you
Oh, yeah.
teach people about that?
bet you do.
Tell us.
Opinions.
Tell us, Ann.
So I was on a consult this morning, and we're going to help her heading into culling things before renovation, which is a great time to do that.
Yeah.
And you walk in her house neat as a pin. I mean, some houses I walk in at first. Now I know better at this point in my career to think, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's open these doors and drawers and
Yeah,
closets.
and everything falls out.
And I have another client who does the same thing. She's like, well, I'm a concealer. And I
Oh,
love
funny.
that admission and that honesty. And so this house was, beautiful, neat as a pin. And so she said, well, let me open the cabinets. And I know what to expect at this point, opening drawers and cabinets with a family of 4.
Yeah.
And, you
Sure.
know, it's not terrible, but it can get a little sticky. So I said to her, what I wish I could do in people's minds or somewhere in their home, I could run a ticker that every time something came in their house, tick, 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 tick. So like this week you brought in 22 new items. But then on the other side, maybe there's a ticker that's counting the things leaving. And it goes tick, tick, tick. Whereas
Right.
the other one is
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that's the lack of balance that is
You think it should be
happening.
equal? You think those ticks should be equal?
One in, one out.
I always try to say, this is what I say. I try to say 1 in, 3 out.
Wow.
So people go,
Wow.
what?
See,
but
I
maybe then I get the
understand
1.
that.
But then I might get
You
the
get the
1.
one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I
Yeah.
kind of
Expectations
hedge my
high.
bets a little bit with people because it's it's rare that people kind of do what I wish for them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
y'all probably
Sure,
wish people
sure.
would do classes more, eat healthier,
Right.
choose, organic or cleaner foods or these things. And if you get one of the 10 things you
Exactly.
hope, that's a win.
Right. Well, you
And it's
always
gonna
say
help.
when people are trying to break a sugar habit, for
Right.
example, the cookies, break it in half. eat
Throw the other half away.
Reduce
Yeah.
it.
So you say that to me and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm sure my clients feel when I say, well,
Well.
and it is humorous to me. I mean, maybe, you know, I don't take myself so seriously that I don't think certain things are funny, because a whole lot is funny actually in life.
It's absurd.
Is absurd. And so I have yet to leave a client's house where there's not a package at their front door.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
Wow.
I should have a ticker. Just Amazon and stuff coming in, and it's so easy now
it is.
to purchase
too easy.
and consume, to
Yeah.
use your word.
Yeah.
And so we're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, or we're influenced, or I've been there. I've tried the face thing, and I've tried those stupid magnetic
All the
lashes,
things.
and
But
nothing works. So I'm no different.
I remember during COVID, I made the statement to you. I said, I have all the clothes I'm ever going to need.
Yeah.
I took an inventory of just, you know, with my eyes in my house, and I went, I've got everything I need.
Yeah.
I don't need any more clothes. Well,
You said good for you.
as soon as they dropped the whole, you know, quarantine thing, I'm like, wait a minute. I can go actually shop. Yeah. No, but I still remember that, and I know that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think what you said about inventory is important to know what you have and what you don't have and what you really need to dig deep. I had a college friend who always said, I have no clothes. I'm like, I'm staring at them. There's a ton of clothes
Yeah.
I
here.
haven't seen you walking around naked yet.
Right, right. And so is that editing inventory process generally a long process? Like, what's the harder
Yeah,
part?
are we going to have to
for
edit
you
our
or
clothing,
clients?
or are you going to go through there and go, you should have
Either
gotten rid
or.
of that, you know,
Okay.
20 years
So,
ago?
Yeah. So again, you know, I'm strongly opinionated on things. However, I am a guest in your home, and I don't want to get kicked out for being like, wow, no, you do not need to wear that. Because I'm not a fashion consultant. You know,
Right.
stay in my lane.
Right.
So people take the closet editing several ways. They can edit before we get there. They might call a personal buyer or someone from one of the stores they go to in, or they're going to wait until we get there, and we can hold each item up. Again, depending on if there's a level of overwhelm or not, or
Sure.
if they want that hand holding, or if they want that push. So again, I just meet my clients where they are, and if they want us to help them with that, we can. Also, sometimes our clients, their closets can be so out of control.
Right.
that they can't even make a decision.
You need to go
Sure.
in. You need to go in
until it's
Lee's room.
organized.
Please.
I can't wait. You're coming over. It's going to cost so much money, though. $75 would not. I mean, it'd be like thousands of dollars.
It can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
So to that
The
point,
pre-edit.
Yeah.
to your point, the more you do ahead of time before anybody comes in your home, the better. However, some people just need the accountability. They also might need us to come in and organize it before they can even sort of face it.
Sure.
Right.
So
Right.
if they are easily overwhelmed and they have high anxiety because of this space, and they're needing to take care of that component of themselves, they're like, if you just come in and organize it, I'll edit it later.
Right.
And so that's
Got
fine.
it.
And then we
Yeah.
follow up. How's that going? You know. And sometimes we go back. because
try
we haven't gotten
again.
to it. And other times they take their homework, or what we call, you know, the step-by-step suggestions to do
Right.
things. But sometimes people just need to get unstuck. I had a friend who
Oh,
used
that's
to
so
say,
true.
yeah, they'd say, you know, we help loosen up the life plaque that's gotten
love
stuck
that.
That's a
in
good
these
way to
areas
put
of
it.
your home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Really
so,
good analogy.
yeah, I didn't come up with that, but I think it's very clever and true to all these various spaces.
And just
in
with
our
by the
homes.
idea of having you come over,
Yeah.
that's immediately going to start changing their thought
Yeah.
patterns about the space they live in.
Right.
You know, am I comfortable here? Does this feel peaceful when I
Right.
come home?
Right. And
You know-
there was an interesting study done because people say, well, the clutter doesn't bother me. And I will look straight at you and be like, well, it bothers your brain, and it bothers your
Right.
breathing, and it bothers your heart, because
There's a
science-
study
there's
done.
a
You've got science on this
science
one.
on
Now
my
we're
side.
talking.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
so they
God
had
love
people
it.
that walked into a hotel room, and so they walked into one version of this hotel room, and it looks like you would expect a hotel room. Like, yes, you put your bag down.
Yeah,
yes,
relax.
perfect. Not much in there. Shows you what we respond to. And so then they walk into the exact same hotel room, but it's a mess. And immediately the people's heart rate goes up, their breathing intensifies.
Really?
And I guarantee you, if they'd had the brain being monitored, synapses would have been firing. And
Sure.
the brain would have been like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Oh, I so believe it.
Yeah, I do
And that
too.
same person would say, it doesn't bother me. But
Yeah.
I'm like, it bothers,
bothers your body.
And it especially
love that.
will take people with
believe that.
ADHD or any type of a processing disorder, especially children, over the edge. Not over the edge where they can't function, but they are at a lower functioning point because the part of our brain that makes those processing and choices can't do that when there's so much going on. And
It's fascinating.
I do get particularly fired up around children because what I do see, and I just beg and plead for parents to hear me, your children do not need all the toys that you have packed into your home and your playroom.
Right.
They need space to play, not all the furniture, sorry designers, not all the chairs and the tables. And this is a play room. So make
Where's your imagination if you've got a fistful of toys and chairs and things?
I was just helping a friend the other day, and he was doing so good. He's a single dad, and I said, I want you to get rid of everything in here but 5 things. And he said, okay. And I said, you watch. And I said, I'll replace all of it if I'm wrong. But I know I'm not wrong and not ego-driven in that answer. It is because I've seen it, that you need to kind of almost take that Montessori approach with your children. Less is best. And to your point, they can't create. If they push a button and it makes a sound, well, there's no reason for them to make a sound if the thing just did it for them.
Exactly.
And so
powerful.
Less is best. And if you don't believe me that children get overwhelmed, get down on your knees to their level, and obviously this is younger children, and look at what they see. Their line of sight is in the thick of the chaos. Yeah. That's why so many parents are like, oh, my kid doesn't even play in their playroom. Well, I'm like, well, no.
You can't even get through it.
I was like, I wouldn't want to be in here. Do you want to be in here? And so they'll take a toy or two and play on the kitchen
go in the
floor,
nice,
go into the quiet, peaceful space.
Interesting.
So it's like, let's do the math here, Einstein.
Right.
If you make that space simpler, like a child will come into this studio and have the time of their
and
lives.
they do. But when we do have events,
Yes.
I mean, my grandchildren, this is their favorite place.
They
They
love
just
it.
go find one ball and they
look at the
slam
open
it
space.
everywhere they can.
And so,
Yeah.
like, you could take the studio method, see what I did there?
There you go.
there we go.
And take it into
We're gonna
your
hook
home
it all
for your
in.
playrooms.
Oh, yeah.
So that gets me, I get fired up because
a
we
good
just
point.
think of what you grew up with toys or whatever. Not many, because
Right.
when we were outside more,
I
and I
don't
know
much
things
name
have
'em.
changed.
Sure.
But that is a really big point for me with children. You know, we're kind of almost driving them into this attention deficit stuff because
It's true.
we are overwhelming them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I guess when I was growing up and I had parents that both worked and I had a housekeeper, I wasn't even allowed to come in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's back in the, 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
whatever. But the beauty of that is the creation of the imagination and the wandering around. And that's before everybody was so worried about their kids being,
Everything.
kidnapped or
Yeah.
whatever they're worried about these days. But it was the greatest playground and learning ground for creativity and imagination and just freedom and happiness.
And you can have that in your home, in this playroom or in their rooms, just with probably 90% of what you've got.
Yeah.
And I know people probably just passed out when I said that. I walked into a playroom once, and I walked in, and I have a pretty good poker face at this point. I can kind of, I've seen it, I'm like, okay. But I walked in this playroom, and I literally felt my heart go,
Wow.
I went, oh my God.
Wow.
And I couldn't even hide my face. And I looked at her and I said, you understand, we can't organize this. I said,
Seems to go.
I said after 90%, she had so much in there. I said, after 90% of this is gone, now we're talking. And she just looked at me with this blank stare. And I was like, you're not ready. You want us to organize this mess.
Yeah.
We are not magicians, although we have been called that. We are not.
Yes.
There's no bibbity bobbity boop. It's messy what we do. We create chaos before the calm, but there's a process behind what we do. And a lot of it, sometimes I kind of want it to be painful. I want you to feel a little
uncomfortable.
bit of,
That's the only way you can change
stirring
yourself.
in your seat. Yeah, because pain is memory, and you don't want
Pain
have
is
to
change.
Go through
You're going to change
A
to
lot
get out of
easier.
pain. Trust me, we know about that. But I want to segue this to adults because I feel like you walk into homes, and I'll think about myself, or I'll think about friend's house or someone's house I've walked into, gorgeous, but there's a lot of things sometimes, and you're going, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's
it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Again, your
live-
brain is trying to process.
You
all that.
are.
Yeah, it's
Right.
It really is a brain thing.
Right.
And people, I think a lot of what anxiety is inside people, not all of it, obviously, but so much within the home can come back to we just have too much stuff. And you can have
Truly.
a high volume of things if they're organized and it not be chaotic. But you can't have it both ways necessarily.
Is your house all white with very modern furniture and like two lamps in the living room? What is
It's
this?
not. So we have just sold our house.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we went from around 4,000 square feet to now we are in a 2-bedroom apartment. And
I love this.
This is
Okay, we know this
She
story.
walks the
Tell it.
walk.
Yes, this is by choice. Our
Yes.
son is in college. He is a sophomore at App State, living his best life, rock climbing and caving, and I think going to class. But he's not going to come back to Charlotte. He's going to end up somewhere where he can rock climb. That is his passion. I'm like, stay wild and free, baby. Just don't
Love
be
it.
reckless. Do
Right.
it. So we've made a choice to go pretty drastic. I mean, we could have done 3-bedroom, but I was like, I'm badass. I'm like, we could do two.
I'm an organizer. I'm a professional.
We're going to do 2 bedrooms. And then I walk in, I was like, oh, this is really small.
Really small.
And so we've had to make some pretty tough choices. And it is hard to do that. So it's kind of like undercover boss.
Right.
Like now I've had to be the client and the organizer all in one. And it was very telling. So my house now is we still have like a lot of nice things in there. We love
Right.
restoration hardware stuff, and so it's a very nice
Yeah.
apartment. But we had to make some brutal cuts. But before that, our house was light and bright and airy, and surfaces were clear, and we didn't have a million pictures everywhere, and it was very limited.
Yeah.
In what was out, just because that's how I.
Where do you put all these
to function.
pictures? See, I'm a picture girl. I've got them everywhere, and I'm like, we've got to get these recent ones done from trips. And how
You
many?
can do just small.
I've got a
small
bazillion
album,
pictures.
Small albums, a digital frame, so it rotates. Those are some of my suggestions I make
Love
for
it.
clients. So I know y'all travel a lot, so
Yeah.
we hope to do that now with more freedom and financial freedom with
Yeah.
less to take care of. But I was shocked. I mean, shocked at even how much stuff we had. And I said to you earlier, I said, I think everybody thinks that organizers are minimalist.
Right.
And some are. And I am now. But before, and this is just weeks, like we've just been in this apartment maybe 3 weeks.
Wow.
I walked through that we were doing a big estate sale because when I tell you we sold everything, I now own 8 plates, 6 cups.
Really?
Yes.
So you're not having any large dinner parties?
I'm coming to your house for dinner.
That sounds. You know what? That's the smartest thing I've heard.
Smart move.
I'm sorry, we can't have anyone over. We only have 8 plates.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so it was by design,
Yeah.
but I'm glad we did it for many reasons, but it will certainly help me in my depth and breadth and understanding and empathy with my clients. It is hard.
Do you have resources when you said you did an estate sale?
Yes.
So you help your clients
Yes.
with this sort of thing
Yes.
too. Okay.
So I have a great vendor list of people we use for trash haul,
Okay.
donation pickup.
Yep.
We take donations I have, like I said, a driver spinner van. So if we can handle it, we'll do that for you. But sometimes
Awesome.
we get going, and some of these houses are 10, 12,000 square feet that we might be in, and others are 1,000 square foot.
Right.
So it just depends on the volume that's coming out and how quick. And so I do have a company I call if we get a little behind the 8 ball and more's
Yeah.
coming out than even we expected.
Yeah.
I call Joe. And
Yeah.
Joe's my man.
Yeah.
And so with Roadrunner Deliveries, he's awesome, and he's good in a pinch, and that's great. And then another thing that we do is we really try to find good homes for the donations.
That's
Right.
what I was wondering.
Right.
Donations, or if you want to resell your things.
Yeah.
When we started redoing my house a little bit, we went on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is
Facebook
that something you
Marketplace.
recognize?
We don't do that personally for our clients. We'll encourage
But do you think
that.
that's a good resource?
If you have the time,
Right.
you have the time and you're willing
Takes a
to
minute.
kind of stay on top of it, and
The
some
exchange.
people, yeah, some of my clients are like, nope, I just want it out. Great. Others, like myself, we wanted some of the financial putback from the
yeah,
estate sale.
right.
And so
because you've got valuable things,
Yes.
right? I
And so,
understand.
you're not going to get what you paid for it. I was just saying to my father the other day, I said, an item is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And so,
Right.
But it's a hard process. It's been pretty hard. And what caught me off guard was I'm not a super emotional person. I'm a caring person, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't get caught up in the sentiment, so I thought. And so what got me off guard was, I was telling my son was sick 3 years ago, and so when I was walking through the home, what stirred up were the memories of his friends rallying behind him and playing board games, and him asleep on the couch, and or good things, playing chess with his grandparents at this one table. And so that I had a tear or two on that, and
But you got rid of it.
But we got rid of it. I processed through it, and I did a funny thing. I went through my house, and I kind of was like, "Thanks, house. Thanks, girl." We had a couple years. My husband was diagnosed with complex PTSD as he retired. I started my business. My son got sick. I was like, "What is happening?"
Right.
And so that house, she was a strong lady. She held us up, and she was there.
I love the way you say that.
Yeah, I went through and thanked her.
It's very personal.
I know that sounds crazy. But
No,
I
it
did
doesn't.
I did it.
I talk to my house. I literally do when I go on a trip, when I come home. Sometimes I just on a Saturday morning just tell it how beautiful it is and how good I feel in it. I really do.
That's good.
I mean, I think our things are part of they're extension of who we are.
Yeah. And then this was very interesting. I went back through after the estate sale. I didn't want to be there watching people walk away with like my stuff.
Yes,
our stuff,
I get that.
It is a shared home.
So they say.
So they say.
Yeah.
And so I went back through when it was empty, and I was totally fine.
Okay.
I thought, I stood at the door for a second, and I thought, And I went in and I went, oh, well, let me vacuum and sweep and
be done.
write
I
down
love
things.
that.
And so that was interesting. So I get it now, and there's definitely a tie that we have between things we bring in. But where I circle back to that is why to be even that much more careful what you bring in.
Exactly.
Because the second something crosses the threshold in your home, it has a different value than when you were holding it in the store.
That is true.
So there's a powerful transition that happens with your attachment to something once it goes from out there to in here.
Right.
It's very
Fascinating.
different. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting with the fires in LA, the people that have lost everything. And I was listening to Jessica Yellen was doing a broadcast about it, and they were saying, take only your most valuable things. And she said, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like what? So that's such an interesting question to ask yourself. I mean, I guess you want to take your passports and your things like that, but what is your most important possession? And, people, I think that's a horribly rude awakening.
Very much so.
But it also, the people there are being so helpful and community oriented toward each other. Yeah. And they really understand clearly, because they didn't have any choice at all.
Right.
What is their value?
Yeah.
And
when something like that is forced on people, it helps. I bring it around to my clients to say, you have an opportunity or in a place where you have a choice to decide what you would like to get rid of now versus not. And as we age or as we transition, and if we're going to, I like the term right size our life, like we've chosen to right size our life.
I like that. Not downsize, right size.
Because downsizing,
like
there's like a negative connotation.
Right.
You were downsized at work. Well, you were fine.
It's going down.
I mean, it's like
it's going down.
It's going down. Yeah, exactly. Like boo.
No, we're going up.
Yeah. So right size. It's choice. It's you're not a victim of your circumstance. You're choosing to do this. And so when you can put it that way, and you can make some of these choices, especially some of my more mature clients that I say you need.
You're looking at me and I understand. I totally get it. I was reading a letter yesterday from my dad to my mother in 1944. So I'm like, I'm holding on to that stuff, right?
That's sweet, though.
I'm
that
sorry.
would get me. That would get me. I'd be like, oh no, you
yeah. But no, I totally get what you're saying. Getting ready to say.
But you don't want to leave all those choices for your children. And
that's
so
exactly right.
I say to folks, as you age, no one's getting out alive. You got to make these decisions because your indecision on these items becomes their burden.
Their problem.
So your indecision today becomes their burden tomorrow. So you have to we have one child. I am not going to leave, 10 million choices, which are probably, if you add up every item in your home, good gosh, only knows what that number would be.
Right.
You're leaving that to someone else. Well, that's not fair.
No.
And so, take that burden off them by doing things today that you can help eliminate that stress from them later. Because when we pass, they have to do that, right? And so I have been in the situation with children whose parents have passed, and they get mad about being left with all of this.
That's the last thing you want, was people pissed off at you when you're dead.
Right. And you also are robbing them of the proper grief process.
Right.
You're going to be angry anyway that you've lost your loved one. That's
I've got a lot to do. I got to get home and reorganize.
You get busy, Liz. Let's go.
We have got.
We're booked through March, but after that we can come help.
I do want to tell the quickest story though. One of my great aunt died. You know this, Aunt Lillian. My Aunt Lillian, who was so old, nobody even came to the funeral. There was one old lady that rolled in, and she goes, I got that furniture disease when your chest falls into your drawers. And I'm like, oh my God, you're funny as hell, and you're 95 years old. But
that's funny.
So, and what we had to do was go through a house like that. But this woman had said to my mother, just make sure you check my purses. We found $11,000 in her purse. In her pocketbooks, and or in Bibles and purses.
I knew that part.
And we would open
that
up,
generation.
and we would yell from the other room, "I just got $500!"
Wow.
So anyway, there can be upside.
Yes, right.
Leave them back. Get rid of the junk. Leave hundos.
Leave them money, and they won't be as pissed off at you.
And then too, also don't do the whole thing. I see this so much. Now, don't you get rid of this when I'm dead.
Oh gosh.
Honey, you're dead gone. And so it's like, don't guilt trip.
Shame,
people.
yes.
Yeah. And then the gift giving. Don't give something and then never expect anybody to never get rid of it, So it's people are funny. Like it's
interesting.
That's what I love about this job, is kind of the quirks that you see with people. And I will say this. I don't care who you are. If you are in the sound of my voice right now, just know nobody has their act together.
Right.
Because I've been in thousands of homes over the last 15 years, and in some area of their life, we see the physicality of it. I can tell you.
You can tell.
We all struggling. So
we all struggling.
It's just, we should just struggle together and be real about it. And there's this keeping up with the Joneses, kind of component to things. But, if everyone would just relax, we are all doing the very best we can on any given day with what we've got. And so that's been my biggest takeaway from this career.
I love that.
And again, also that the biggest driving point is like, if anybody needs anything normalized for them about life, I'll bring it. Nobody got it together.
That's right.
I
you
love
have
that.
it more together.
That's
on
sort of the
certain
way we
days than
feel
others.
here. It's just a safe space.
Sure.
People come in here. Nobody's got it together. Nobody knows how to do the full workout. Nobody can do an actual push-up.
No.
We're just all doing it together.
Yes.
And the communal and support on that you do for your clients is
we
very.
laugh with our clients.
Yeah.
We cry with our clients. We see everything. We've seen the loss of a child in a home that we've had to help somebody through. We've seen a new union in marriage or a birth. We've seen terrible moves where things have been broken, and we have to be like, it's not okay, but it's okay,
Yeah.
So we've had to nurse along clients with a lot, or it's just a good old closet clean out or a pantry.
Sure.
There's not much emotion involved in a pantry. And so it is a fascinating job. And it's a wonderful job, and it's great because you can see something go from being really chaotic to buttoned up in a 6-hour period. We work like 10 to 4. And so,
What's your average? Say you've got let me speak for myself. Say you've got about a 4,000 square foot home, and sort of has some messes in the closet.
Yeah.
How many days would that be?
I would have to see it to know, but it'd probably be quite a few.
Our producer back here just laughing. Chris is like, girl.
I feel like she's seen it.
Yeah, maybe. It's just
like,
it might take a
plead the
couple
fifth.
days.
There's your favorite coffee table book is More is More. So
It's truly
there's that.
and it's like one of my
There's
things.
that.
More
No,
is
ma'am.
more is more. Yeah.
However, I will say there are things where if a lifestyle or things where you are going to have, if you're a fashionista, you love clothes, you love shoes. Okay,
I
great.
do.
You know what? We'll get that place buttoned up, but then it allows me to push harder in a different area.
Exactly.
So there's
There we
this
go.
give and take. Exactly.
I like.
Yeah.
I'm excited. You've got me so motivated.
Good.
I'm going to go home first of all when we're done with this,
Good.
and we're gonna clean out all the stuff.
There's a we.
Start
Okay,
small.
no, I'm going to this. I'm going immediately to this because you're having so much fun. How do you deal with partners, couples who have a disagreement about how to do this? Obviously,
Yes.
they're professional. That's why they've called you in. But
Right.
does it get a little testy?
It can, and it does actually, not it can.
I
It
bet it
always
does.
does. And so there's always, not always, but about 99.9% of the time, there's the purger and then the keeper.
Right.
So it's
Right.
the battle of the sexes, and we call it organizing for the sexes.
I know which part
You know,
we're in.
It's
I know what I am.
I can't too, just from this conversation.
I know, right? It's
can
very
tell.
easy. It's written on our
tell.
faces.
I love it. And so there is sort of that awkwardness that I just use humor because
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if you're you can't
Sure,
panic
yeah.
in a tight situation. So I use humor. There's been a time or two where I've said, I'm not your marriage counselor. I'm
Right.
gonna save this for
Right.
another day. Let's put a pin in that,
Yeah.
to use terms from my own therapist. And we're
Yes.
gonna put a pin in that and circle back. I'll
Yes.
say we're gonna circle back. And so
It's funny.
people kind of, I think, want us to take sides in
Yeah.
situations, and I just won't do it because
Yeah.
that's
Death.
lose.
That's
So-
into your business,
Yeah.
right?
What I tell people, if you are the neatnik and your partner is not so, just start with your own spaces. And someone will say, well, they're already neat. That's okay. Take them next step.
Yeah.
Go next level. I don't know if y'all seen that
Like a
little
show
kid on
off.
Instagram where the girl's trying to undo her buckle in the seat, and the dad's like, Casey, can I help you? And she goes, you mind your business. And she's trying to, and he said, well, I can help you. No, mind your business. And she's trying to follow. So it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
There's
I love
certain
that.
times where you just need to mind your business and
Got
stay
it.
in your lane
Yeah.
and lead by example.
Right, right.
Especially, again, circling back to children. I'm on a kid kick today. If you are trying to have your child's room look one way, but your room looks the same,
Exactly.
don't come with that message.
Yeah, well, it's
You
just
know?
like telling
I mean,
your
that's
child
crazy.
to get off their device when
And there
you're
you
on it
are.
all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same concept.
Same thing.
Exactly. So
Same concept. Well, that's interesting.
There's that. But typically, we can always find a workaround. We can find a middle ground, whereas negotiations can happen. We travel sometimes for work, and we were down in Charleston, and there were some family pieces, and the wife was very respectful of a lot of this on this whole table, say, was full of the husband's items from his family. Fairly sentimental, but he was ready to make some cuts.
Right.
And so she goes, Ann, I want you to handle it. I was like, great, no
Wow,
pressure.
I can't
So
wait.
I'll say, Bobby, how do we feel about what's on this table? Where are we? Like, let me know where you are on this. You know, sort of, I'm trying to get a gauge of how hard I can or can't press. And so he says, well, I think I'm ready to let go of a good bit of it. And then I said, well, how much is that? You know, trying to see where I can push on the gas or if I have to tap the brakes. And he ended up, I think, because of the wife's, not allowance, but encouragement of, this is not my stuff to make the call on. I would like to see as much of it go as possible. However, I know it's sensitive to you. And he ended up getting rid of probably 90% of it.
Wow.
Wow.
And so, so that just shows
Yeah.
you when there's sort
Freedom.
of a high emotional intelligence approach to these things, it can work. Now, that's not always going to be the case, you know.
Yeah.
But hopefully
but
it is.
hopefully it
I think
will
another
be.
way to look at it too is what you said before is what are you going to leave for your kids to have to deal with? I'm going to start looking at it that way.
Yeah,
Does my one daughter need to deal with all my
I
stuff?
have a few things going through my head.
Because she's got her own stuff.
She will go,
know?
and if she's listening to this, she's going, yes, I can deal with it because I know what she's
I know,
thinking.
we know she wants.
Yeah.
There's something she probably wants.
Yeah.
And so then you can spin off to the, well, my kid's this, my kid's that.
Right.
At a certain point, your children's homes are furnished.
Right.
I get it if they're about to have that first apartment or that first home and you're keeping some things. What I discourage is keeping 2-3 storage units for the if only,
Right.
what if, maybe. And I have several clients that do that, and I really push to try to get people out of that. Storage units are for temporary things or
Right.
rotational thing of like your seasonal or the kids home from college, it goes there when they go back, it goes with them.
Yeah.
Storage units are grossly misused in this country, and the statistics not quite fresh in my brain, but at one point it was something like $52 billion business. It's disgusting.
Wow.
How many storage units there are in the United States, and people are just hoarding their stuff. And to what point?
To what point?
Why? You know, use it or lose it. And there's certain things that if they are valuable to you, then I'm hard pressed to believe that something's important to you if you have put it in a box in the attic where it's going to go die a slow death. That's not important to you.
right.
That's a good point.
You just feel guilty about maybe getting
Yeah.
rid of it. So let's own that.
There's so much of my stuff like that.
Well, it's
Yeah.
very psychological.
it really
I mean,
is.
it is the connection we have to our things. And we know after watching something like those horrific fires, it's really, okay, we're safe.
Yes.
You know, it is the people.
Yeah.
I think you should do a television show. It'd be fun to follow along with you. I think you're very entertaining.
They couldn't show my face because I'd be like, you know?
That's the entertainment. That's so good.
Right.
I think you'd
I'd
be
be
so
like,
good. So,
you know.
wait, I have questions.
Oh.
You gotta narrow it down. Your favorite room to organize.
Okay, believe it or not, I'm a tomboy. I love attics and garages. because
Really?
I love to get in there and get dirty and just I've played sports my whole life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I go dove hunting with my dad, and I'm much more comfortable. I played
Did you play?
Volleyball in college.
Oh,
yeah.
I can see that.
And
girls.
so, yes. I was back row because I can't jump, but it's okay.
It's all right.
And so those are my favorite. Most organizers, and I enjoy any space.
Sure, of course.
But I hate linens.
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
hate
What's your least
linens.
favorite? Okay.
I don't know why they're not labeled. Like right size. And I'm like, you know what, forget it. When
Exactly.
we moved, I got rid of all of mine, and
Yeah.
I just bought new because I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Like, it was mentally not good for me to have to deal with
Right.
linens.
I think that's a really good point. This whole thing is very mental to me,
Well,
and
yeah,
emotional
raise-
health.
Yeah.
This is an emotional health
Yep.
It
podcast.
really is.
I mean,
and I've never had a client that said, "Oh gosh, I wish I hadn't gotten organized." They
Right.
all
Sure.
say, "I
Yeah.
wish I'd done
Oh, I
this
really
sooner.
missed that.
I wish I'd done it sooner."
sequin
Yeah.
pair of shoes from the
Right.
1986.
And there's certain things I know that have higher value than not. But what's the worst thing in your life that's going to happen if you get rid of something?
Right.
It might sting a little. You know, you're probably like, gosh, and there's some regret, and there's some like, oh, how, but my son had a terrifying health scare. So
Right.
that's how I relate things.
Right.
And it's not a chip I have on my shoulder, and I don't hold that over other people.
Right.
But that's that's my scale. You know, I'm thinking, and my husband was a police officer, a sergeant with CPD for 22 years. If he came home, that's a good day.
That's a good day.
So now I know those are pretty dramatic, and that's not everybody's life, but that's my life, and that's how I gauge it. And so, again, it does come down to we just don't need as much stuff as we think we do. I mean, other people in other areas of the world,
Right.
and this city and the country, they live with less, and they're just fine.
and very happy.
Yes.
Probably a lot happier than we are.
You know why? Because they're
yeah.
family focused, and
Right.
they're experientially focused. And you know, I made a rule in our house on Christmas morning, we weren't going to be taking pictures. You get one picture, and then that's it.
I love that.
Then
Thank
the
you,
rest,
Ann.
The rest,
I just said I love that, but I am the one that's like, no, y'all, no, rewrap it and unwrap it again. I
'Cause
wanna
you're
get the
taking
full
from the
video. Like,
moment.
why?
Right.
Yeah.
You're missing the
you're
actual
missing the moment.
moment.
And yes, it's great when you capture that reaction or you get that face, or you have that moment, and there's some that you want captured. But in essence, you know,
It's interesting.
think about it, and this is cliche, but on someone's deathbed, what do they say? I wish I spent more time with my people.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep.
and maybe I wish I'd traveled more or I'd done more.
I think that's where we are going to go home and I'm going to clean everything out. But honestly, that's where I spend my money now.
Yeah.
Much less than I used to with
Yes.
fashion and all the things, because I mean, the experience of life is so rich.
and it's fleeting.
It is going fast.
fleeting.
Trust me, I'm in that last, I'm in the last boxcar.
So, well, you look good.
Yeah,
For it. I aspire.
Right. And I would rather spend the time thinking about what a good time we had than scrolling through 100 pictures trying
Yeah.
to pick the best one that doesn't even connect to the actual
And
moment.
you
Moment.
can only have so many coffee cups and so many shot glasses and T-shirts.
Right, and
it's
but
like
baseball
this.
caps. I'm a big baseball cap girl, but I think those are good. Yeah, Lee's always like, put your phone down. I want you to experience this
good.
moment.
That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
That's good, and that's the balance between between people. You need that. You
Right.
need that. Yeah. It's
Right.
important. Yeah.
Well, okay.
This has been
so
really, really
where,
good.
Yeah, no, where,
Tell everybody where
yeah,
to find
where
you.
to
All
find
the
you.
info. And
Yeah,
we'll put it
everything.
in the show notes and we'll
Okay,
have
sure.
it. But
the best way to get a hold of us, where we capture your information and you can see what we're about, is our website. And
Right.
so, www.stepbysteporganizing.com.
Okay.
And there's a contact form there,
Okay.
and that gets the ball rolling.
how many people are on your team? Because this is a lot.
Yeah, so I have about 15 girls that I can pull from. I have a core group, I would
it.
say, of 5 that
Okay.
really
Wonderful.
are in the field. You know, since I started this, the only days I've taken off have been by choice, illness, or vacation. And so we work 5-6 days
Good
a
for you.
week.
Wow.
And we're busy. We're book out usually 1 to 2 months.
1 to 2
So
months.
We
Okay.
stay busy.
You'll need
which
to
is-
get on the horn.
Yes, which is good. But then I'm like, God, people and their stuff. I mean, it's an $8 billion industry in this country.
Wow.
Not
Professional
surprised.
organizing. You know, Home Edit blew it up, and then Condo and
Right.
all that. And so I appreciate all
Fascinating.
that, the awareness they brought to the industry, and the need for organization, and the need for the edit.
Isn't that
and the
fascinating? Because, you know, it's not, you would think, oh, this is only for wealthy people that just have
No.
so much.
No.
All of us have too much stuff.
Yes.
So-
you have to live, in order to live well in the space that you have to live within those parameters. And so just because you want a bigger closet does not mean you have a
need
bigger
one.
closet. And so you could have a capsule wardrobe that allows you to mix and match. And you can have 20 pieces that create 200 outfits.
Exactly.
So there are workarounds.
Exactly.
You know, you can, go to IKEA and get things at Nest, and you can, so there's pretty much a million ideas out there that you can make your space work for you.
Right.
But a lot of it is you just have to face the reality of you have the square footage that you have, and you have to live within that. Otherwise, you're going to be busting out.
This is great. I'm so inspired. No, I'm inspired. So I will be one of your clients, of course. But for the next couple of months, I'll be like throwing stuff out like you read about.
Yes. And
Good.
you can call organizations that will come to your house and do pickup, so you're not doing the whole riding around with the bag in your car for 6 months. Or
Right,
sit in the
okay.
corner, or you dumpster dive, because you got to get it out quick, because then you'll be like,
Well, maybe.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You gotta commit.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Commit.
this has been great.
Thank you so
and
much
this is
for
just,
coming.
You're amazing.
A pleasure,
you.
and I'm
Thank
excited to know about your service and to
Yeah.
share it with all our listeners and viewers. And I think we've really gone deeper into what decluttering really means,
Right.
to what organization really means, and that connection to yourself and your own health, physical and mental.
It's connected.
It's right
you're
up
doing
our
a lot
alley.
of good work. Thank you.
You are too.
Thank you. All right.
Let's go clean.
Let's get clean.
Lean and mean, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, spaces
All right.
and
We'll see you
bodies.
soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.